Captain Vexhar stretched his long neck and adjusted his position in the command chair. His scales caught the blue light from the ship's displays as he looked at the datapad in his clawed hands. The contract was simple, almost too simple for a crew like his. The Crimson Talon was not just any mercenary ship. It was home to some of the most dangerous fighters in the galaxy. Vexhar himself was a Saurian from the warrior clans of Draconis Prime. His second-in-command, Lieutenant Cora, came from the ice world of Valthan, where her people had fought brutal wars for 1,000 years. The crew included fighters from 12 different worlds, each one picked for their skills in combat, and now they had been hired to attack humans. Vexhar had never heard of humans before. According to the datapad, they were a new species that had recently joined galactic civilization. The pictures showed creatures that looked weak and soft. They had no claws, no thick skin, no natural weapons at all. They seemed to be made of pink flesh that would tear easily. "Captain," Cora said as she walked onto the bridge. Her blue skin had frost patterns that showed she was amused. "Have you seen the payment for this job?" Vexhar nodded slowly. The amount was huge, more money than they usually made in a year, but something felt wrong about it. "Read me the details again," he said to his communications officer, a bug-like creature called Ziktar. Ziktar's antenna twitched as he read from his screen. "Target is a human research station on planet Kepler 442b. 12 humans working there. They have found something valuable. Our job is to capture the station and bring the humans to the client alive. Technology level is described as basic. No military training expected." "What kind of research?" Vexhar asked. "Does not say, Captain. But the client wants whatever they found." Cora laughed, a sound like breaking ice. 12 soft creatures with basic technology? This will be the easiest job we have ever done." Around the bridge, other crew members were also laughing. Gorth, the massive rock creature from the asteroid mines, made a sound like grinding stone. "I could break all 12 with one hand," he said. But Vexhar was not laughing. He had been a mercenary for 20 years. He had fought against the hive mind of Kepler 7. He had survived the Crystal Wars. He had learned that when a job seemed too easy, there was usually something wrong. Why so much money for such a simple job? He asked the room. The crew fell quiet. They had been wondering the same thing. "Maybe the clients are just very rich," suggested Dr. Yalth, their medic. Her tentacles curled nervously as she spoke. "Or maybe there is something they are not telling us," Vexhar said. He looked at the file again. The pictures of humans showed creatures that stood on 2 legs like many species. They had hair growing from the tops of their heads. Their eyes were small and their teeth looked flat, not sharp like a predator's. Everything about them suggested a weak species that had evolved on a safe world. "How did they even get into space?" asked Ziktar. "They look like prey animals." "The file says they developed space travel recently," Vexhar replied. "Someone else must have helped them." "Well, it does not matter," Cora said. "Weak is weak. We will be done in an hour." Vexhar set course for Kepler 442b. The journey would take 3 days. As the ship jumped into hyperspace, he tried to shake the feeling that something was wrong. The money was too good. The job was too easy. And there was something about the humans in the pictures that bothered him. Their eyes looked intelligent. More than intelligent. They looked like the eyes of a hunter, not prey. On the second day of travel, Vexhar called his crew together in the main meeting room. The Crimson Talon's crew was diverse, but they all shared one thing. They were all survivors. Each one had lived through battles that would have killed lesser fighters. "I want everyone to understand," Vexhar said. "This job feels strange. I want all weapons ready. I want all armor checked. I want backup plans for everything." "Captain," said Gorth in his deep, rocky voice, "you are worried about 12 weak creatures?" "I am worried about jobs that pay too much money," Vexhar replied. "Easy prey does not need this much firepower to catch." He gestured to the weapon displays on the wall. The Crimson Talon carried enough firepower to destroy a small city. It had energy cannons, missile tubes, and a crew of 40 trained killers. All of this to capture 12 research scientists. "Maybe the client wants to be sure," suggested Yalth. "Maybe," Vexhar said, "but I have learned to trust my instincts. And my instincts say something is wrong here." The crew looked uncomfortable. They trusted their captain. He had kept them alive through many dangerous jobs. If he was worried, maybe they should be worried too. "What do you want us to do?" asked Cora. "Study everything we know about humans," Vexhar said. Study the planet. Study the research station. I want to know every detail before we arrive. The crew spent the rest of the journey going through the files, but there was not much information. Humans seemed to be a young species that had only recently developed space travel. Their technology was described as simple. Their government was some kind of democracy where decisions were made by groups instead of strong leaders. Nothing suggested they would be dangerous. But Vexhar noticed something odd in the star charts. Kepler 442b was far from any major trade routes. It was in empty space, away from the normal paths that ships used to travel between worlds. Why would humans choose such a remote place for research? Maybe they wanted privacy, suggested Ziktar. Or maybe they wanted to hide, said Vexhar. On the third day, they arrived at Kepler 442b. It was a small, rocky world with one moon. The research station was on the surface near a large crater. It looked simple, made of metal and plastic like most temporary structures. Scanning the surface, reported Cora from her station. I detect 12 life forms in the research building. Energy signatures match human biology. No weapons detected. No weapons at all? Vexhar asked. Nothing stronger than standard tools. Some mining equipment. Basic communications gear. No shields. No defensive systems. It looked exactly like the simple research station they had been told to expect. But Vexhar's unease was growing stronger. Open a communication channel, he ordered. The main screen flickered and showed the inside of the research station. A human female appeared. She had dark hair and wore simple clothes. She looked calm as she saw the massive alien warship on her screen. Good morning, she said in a pleasant voice. I am Dr. Sarah Chen. Can I help you? Vexhar was surprised. Most species showed fear when a mercenary ship appeared. This human acted like she was greeting visitors for tea. I am Captain Vexhar of the Crimson Talon, he said. You are going to surrender your research station and come with us. Dr. Chen nodded slowly. I see. May I ask who hired you? That information is private. Of course. Well, this is unfortunate timing. We are right in the middle of some important experiments. Could you give us an hour to wrap things up? Vexhar stared at the screen. The human was asking for time to finish her work. She was not begging for mercy or trying to run away. She was treating a mercenary attack like a minor interruption. You do not seem to understand, Vexhar said. This is not a request. We are taking your station. I understand perfectly, Dr. Chen replied. But these experiments have been running for 6 months. It would be a shame to waste all that work. 1 hour should be enough to save the data. Then we can discuss your requirements. Behind Dr. Chen, Vexhar could see other humans moving around. They did not look panicked. They looked busy, like people who had work to finish. You have 30 minutes, Vexhar said and cut the communication. The bridge was quiet. Everyone was thinking the same thing. The humans were acting very strange for people who had just been captured. Maybe. They do not understand the danger, suggested Yelth. Or maybe they are too stupid to be afraid, said Gorth. But Vexhar was remembering something. In all his years as a mercenary, he had learned that there were only 2 types of people who stayed calm when facing superior firepower. People who were too ignorant to understand the danger, and people who were not actually in danger. Dr. Sarah Chen had not looked ignorant. 30 minutes passed slowly on the bridge of the Crimson Talon. Vexhar watched the research station through his ship's sensors. The humans were still moving around inside, but their actions seemed organized, not panicked. Time is up, he announced. Open the channel again. Dr. Chen's face appeared on the screen. She looked exactly as calm as before. Thank you for the time, she said. We have saved all the important data. Now you mentioned that someone hired you to take our station. Before we proceed, I should probably explain a few things about human protocols. Protocols? Vexhar asked. Yes. When humans are threatened, we have certain standard procedures we follow. I have already sent a message to Earth Command explaining our situation. They will want to know who hired you and why. Vexhar felt a cold sensation in his stomach. You contacted your government? Of course. It is required by the Sole Response Doctrine. Any threat to human personnel or property must be reported immediately. Dr. Chen smiled in a way that did not look friendly. I am sure your employers mentioned this to you. They had not mentioned anything like that. Vexhar was beginning to understand why this job paid so much money. Cut communications, he ordered. Then he turned to his crew. Find out everything you can about this Sole Response Doctrine. Now. Ziktar's antenna moved quickly as he searched through galactic databases. After a few minutes, he looked up with what might have been fear in his compound eyes. "Captain, I'm finding some strange things. References to something called the Unity Wars. Multiple mentions of human military actions, but most of the files are restricted." "What do you mean restricted?" "High-level military classification. The kind of files that only government intelligence agencies can access." Cora moved to her own terminal. "I am checking mercenary databases, looking for other jobs against humans." She worked for several minutes, then stopped. "Captain, this is very odd. What did you find?" "I found 17 different contracts against human targets in the last 5 years. All of them paid enormous amounts of money, but I cannot find any after-action reports. No crew ever filed completion reports." "Maybe they are being discreet," suggested Gorth. "No," Cora said. "I can find partial records. Ship names, crew lists, departure dates, but no return dates. And no communication from any of these crews after they took jobs against humans." The bridge fell silent. In the mercenary business, crews that disappeared meant only one thing. They were dead. "How many crews?" Vexhar asked quietly. 17 ships, more than 600 mercenaries total. Dr. Yalth's tentacles were curling with anxiety. "What happened to them?" "I do not know," Cora admitted. "But Captain, I think we should leave now." Vexhar was tempted to agree, but professional pride and curiosity held him back. 600 mercenaries killed by humans? Impossible. Humans looked weak. Their technology was supposed to be basic. How could they fight trained killers? "Monitor their communications," he ordered. "I want to know what they are really doing down there." Ziktar tuned into the research station's communication channels. What they heard made no sense at first. The humans were talking about their work in calm, technical language. But slowly, Vexhar began to understand that they were not talking about research. "Perimeter sensors are active," one voice said. "Confirmed." "I have movement on Scope 3, replied another. "Chen, do you want the mining charges armed now or should we wait?" "Arm them now. Also, someone should update the neural network. We have new tactical data." Vexhar looked at his crew. "Mining charges? Neural networks? What kind of research were they doing?" "Captain," Dr. Chen's voice came through the communication system. She had not asked to speak to them. She was just talking to her people, but they could hear everything. "Has anyone checked the orbital mechanics lately?" "Yes," came a reply. "The mercenary ship is in a standard attack position. Textbook approach pattern. No imagination at all. How disappointing. Well, I suppose we should start the next phase." The communication channel closed. "Next phase of what?" Gorth asked. Vexhar was studying the tactical display. His ship was indeed in a standard position for attacking a ground target. Every mercenary crew used the same approach because it was safe and effective. But if the humans knew standard tactics, they could predict what the Crimson Talon would do next. "Cora, take us to a different position. Random pattern. Moving now, Captain." As the ship changed course, Ziktar suddenly shouted a warning. "Energy spike from the planet's surface." The main screen showed a bright flash from near the research station. Then space around the Crimson Talon filled with strange objects. They looked like metal spheres covered with sensors and small engines. "What are those?" Dr. Yalth asked. "Unknown," Cora replied. "They appear to be some kind of probe. But the design is not in any database. Like, are they weapons?" Scanning now. "They do not appear to have weapon systems. But they are very advanced. Their sensor suite is better than ours." Vexhar watched dozens of the spheres spread out around his ship. They moved with intelligence, positioning themselves to scan the Crimson Talon from every angle. "They are mapping us," he realized. "Recording our weapons, our shield frequencies, everything. Should we destroy them?" Gorth asked. "Try it." Gorth fired the ship's point defense guns at the nearest spheres. The energy beams hit their targets, but the spheres absorbed the energy without damage. Instead, they seemed to learn from the attack. They began moving in patterns that would make them harder to hit. "Captain," Ziktar said in a worried voice, "I am detecting transmission bursts from those spheres. They are sending data somewhere." "Where?" "Unknown. The signal is encrypted with protocols I have never seen before." On the planet below, Dr. Chen's voice came through the speakers again, but this time she was clearly talking to the mercenaries. "Captain Vexhar, I hope you do not mind our little probes. We like to understand the capabilities of any ship that visits us. It helps us plan appropriate responses." "What do you want?" Vexhar asked. "What we want is to continue our research in peace." What you want is to capture us for whoever hired you. These goals are not compatible. You are 12 people with basic technology, Vexhar said. We are 40 trained fighters with a warship. Numbers can be misleading, Dr. Chen replied. For example, you are assuming we are just research scientists. That assumption might be incorrect. What are you then? We are humans, Captain. That should be explanation enough. The communication channel closed again, leaving the bridge in uncomfortable silence. I do not understand, Dr. Yalth said. What does being human have to do with anything? Vexhar was beginning to suspect he knew the answer. But he needed more information. Ziktar, contact our clients. Tell them we need complete information about human military capabilities. Tell them about the Sol response doctrine. Ask them what really happened to the other mercenary crews. Sending message now, Captain. While they waited for a reply, Vexhar watched the human probes. They continued to study his ship with sophisticated sensors. Whatever the humans were doing, it was not simple research. This was advanced military technology. Captain, Cora said quietly. I have been thinking about something Dr. Chen said. She mentioned updating a neural network. What if those humans down there are not just scientists? What do you mean? What if they are soldiers pretending to be scientists? Vexhar considered this. It would explain their calm behavior. It would explain the advanced technology. But it raised an even more disturbing question. If these were human soldiers, where was the human military? And why had 17 mercenary crews disappeared after taking contracts against humanity? The answer came faster than he expected. Alarms began ringing throughout the ship. Captain, Ziktar shouted. Multiple ships dropping out of hyperspace. Large signatures. The main screen showed 3 massive vessels appearing near the planet. They were sleek and dark, built for war. Their design was unlike anything in the galactic databases. Human ships, Cora whispered. Incoming transmission, Ziktar announced. A new human face appeared on the screen. This one wore a military uniform and did not look friendly at all. Unknown vessel, this is Admiral Morrison of the Human Space Navy. You are ordered to power down all weapons and prepare to be boarded. Any hostile action will result in your immediate destruction. Vexhar looked at his crew. Fear was beginning to show on every face. How did they get here so fast? Dr. Yalth asked. Dr. Chen said she sent a message when we first arrived, Vexhar replied. They must have been waiting nearby. Why would human warships be waiting in empty space? Gorth asked. Vexhar was starting to understand. This remote research station was not what it seemed. The humans were not what they seemed, and his crew had walked into a trap that had already killed 600 other mercenaries. Because, he said slowly, we are not the first ones to try this. Vexhar stared at the 3 human warships on his screen. They were massive, easily twice the size of the Crimson Talon. Their hulls were dark metal that seemed to absorb light. No decorations, no bright colors. They looked like tools built for one purpose only. Captain, Admiral Morrison said from the screen, you have 30 seconds to comply. Power down weapons and prepare for boarding. What if we refuse? Vexhar asked. Admiral Morrison's expression did not change. Then we will solve this problem a different way. Vexhar looked at his crew. 40 trained killers all looking to him for orders. But 600 mercenaries had faced humans before and disappeared. He needed to know what had happened to them. We refuse, he said. Admiral Morrison nodded like he had expected this answer. Dr. Chen, please proceed with the demonstration. Demonstration of what? Vexhar asked. But the human admiral had already closed the communication channel. On the planet below, the research station suddenly changed. Panels slid back to reveal weapon emplacements that had been hidden underneath. The mining equipment transformed into something else entirely. What had looked like a simple research station was now clearly a military installation. They were hiding their real purpose, Cora said in amazement. Look at those weapon signatures, Ziktar reported. I have never seen energy readings like this. The hidden weapons on the planet's surface began to target the Crimson Talon, but they did not fire. Instead, Dr. Chen's voice came through the communication system again. Captain Vexhar, what you are seeing is a standard human research station. We always build them to be defensible because we have learned that the galaxy can be a dangerous place. You lied to us, Vexhar said. We told you exactly what we are. Humans conducting research. We simply did not mention that human research stations are also military bases. Why? Because enemies who underestimate humans tend to make poor decisions. like attacking a research station without proper intelligence. On the tactical display, Vexhar could see the situation getting worse. The 3 human warships had spread out around his vessel. The planetary weapons were locked onto his ship, and those strange probes were still recording everything. "What do you want?" he asked. "We want you to answer some questions," Dr. Chen replied. "Who hired you? What were you told about humans? And what happened to the other mercenary crews that took similar contracts?" "I do not know what happened to other crews. But you do know who hired you." Vexhar hesitated. Mercenary ethics required client confidentiality, but his crew's survival was more important than ethics. A consortium of alien corporations. They said humans had found something valuable. What kind of corporations? Mining, trade, shipping. They claimed humans were interfering with their business. Dr. Chen was quiet for a moment. "I see. And they told you humans were a weak, primitive species?" "Yes." "Did they mention the Unity Wars?" "No, what are the Unity Wars?" Dr. Chen's voice became colder. The Unity Wars were a conflict between humanity and a coalition of 16 alien species. The aliens thought humans would be easy to defeat because we looked weak and had simple technology. What happened? The war lasted 18 months. When it ended, 12 of the 16 species had surrendered unconditionally. 2 species had withdrawn from galactic civilization entirely. 1 species had gone extinct, and 1 species now serves as a human client state. Vexhar felt ice in his veins. Impossible. "Captain, would you like to see the records?" Before Vexhar could answer, his main screen filled with images. Battle scenes, star maps, casualty reports. The data was overwhelming, but the pattern was clear. Human forces had fought and defeated enemies that should have been much stronger. "How?" Gorth asked in his rumbling voice. "Humans have certain advantages in warfare," Dr. Chen explained. "We are very good at adapting to new situations. We are excellent at learning from our enemies. And we have a talent for turning ordinary objects into weapons. That does not explain how you defeated advanced civilizations." "No, it does not. The real explanation is more complicated." Dr. Chen paused. "Humans evolved on a world where everything was trying to kill us. Plants, animals, weather, geography, diseases, other humans. We survived by becoming very good at war." "But you look so weak," Dr. Yalth said. "Appearance can be misleading. Humans learned long ago that the best predators do not look dangerous until it is too late." Vexhar was beginning to understand. The research station. It looks harmless, but it is really a trap. All human installations serve multiple purposes, Dr. Chen confirmed. "We learned during the Unity Wars that enemies would attack our civilian facilities. So we stopped building civilian facilities. Then what is this place really? It is a research station, exactly as we said. But it is also an early warning post, a weapons testing facility, and a training ground for new tactical doctrines." "Training ground. Captain, your ship and crew are providing valuable data for our military researchers. We now know how Saurian mercenaries think, how Valthan warriors fight, how rockform soldiers attack. This information will be very useful." Vexhar realized with horror that they were not just trapped. They were being studied like laboratory animals. "You planned this," he said. "We suspected something like this would happen eventually," Dr. Chen replied. "The corporations that hired you have been causing problems for human trade routes. We knew they would eventually try to use mercenaries against us. So you set a trap. We made ourselves look like an easy target and waited to see who would take the bait." Cora was checking her tactical displays. "Captain, those human warships are not in attack formation. They are in research positions. They are studying us too." "What do they want to learn?" Vexhar asked. Admiral Morrison's voice answered. "We want to understand how mercenary crews operate. What motivates them, how they make decisions, how they fight when cornered. Are you going to kill us? That depends on what you do next." Vexhar looked around his bridge. His crew was scared, but they were still loyal. They would follow his orders even into a hopeless battle. But what would be the point? The humans clearly had overwhelming advantages. "What are our options?" he asked. "You can fight and die," Admiral Morrison said. "You can surrender and be interrogated. Or you can answer our questions and leave with your lives." "What questions?" Dr. Chen's voice returned. "We want complete information about the corporations that hired you. Names, locations, financial records, future plans. We also want you to carry a message back to the mercenary community." "What message?" "That humans are no longer an acceptable target for mercenary operations." Vexhar considered his choices. Fighting would get his crew killed. Surrendering would mean imprisonment. But cooperation might let them live. If we tell you what you want to know, you will let us go? Yes, Dr. Chen said. But you will be marked. Our intelligence services will know where you are and what you are doing. If you ever take another contract against humans, you will not be given another chance to surrender. And if we refuse to cooperate, Admiral Morrison answered this time, then we will demonstrate why 17 mercenary crews have disappeared after taking contracts against humanity. Show him, Dr. Chen said. The main screen changed to show space near one of the human warships. A target drone appeared, roughly the same size as the Crimson Talon. The human ship fired a single weapon. The target drone simply vanished. Not destroyed, not damaged. It ceased to exist as if it had never been there at all. What kind of weapon was that? Ziktar whispered. Classified, Admiral Morrison said. But I can tell you it is standard equipment on all human military vessels. Gorth made a sound like grinding rocks. Why are you showing us this? Because, Dr. Chen said, we want you to understand something important. The corporations that hired you told you humans were weak. They were wrong. We are not weak. We are careful. Careful? Humans survived on a dangerous world by learning to hide our true capabilities until we needed them. We joined galactic civilization as apparent primitives because we wanted to study our new neighbors before revealing what we could really do. You have been lying to everyone. We have been cautious, and our caution was justified. Within 5 years of making contact with galactic civilization, 16 species tried to conquer us. If we had revealed our true capabilities from the beginning, they might have succeeded through alliance and preparation. Admiral Morrison added, instead, they attacked what they thought was easy prey. They learned too late that humans have no easy prey. Vexhar was quiet for a long time. Everything he thought he knew about galactic politics was wrong. Humans were not newcomers. They were predators who had been hiding in plain sight. What happened to the other mercenary crews? He finally asked. Some fought and were destroyed, Dr. Chen said. Some surrendered and were recruited to work for human intelligence services. Some refused to cooperate and were imprisoned on penal colonies. Recruited? Humans value practical experience. Mercenaries who prove themselves useful can find employment with human organizations. The pay is better and the work is more interesting. What kind of work? Admiral Morrison smiled for the first time. The kind of work that uses your skills against enemies of humanity. Vexhar understood. The humans were offering his crew a choice. They could die as enemies or they could live as allies. But first they had to prove they could be trusted. Vexhar made his decision. Survival was more important than pride. We will cooperate, he announced to his crew. Prepare all files on our employers. Some of his crew looked relieved. Others looked angry, but none of them argued. They had all seen what happened to the target drone. Wise choice, Dr. Chen said. Please transmit all contract details, payment records, and communication logs. Also provide any intelligence you have about the corporations that hired you. Ziktar began uploading files to the human ships. As the data transferred, Admiral Morrison appeared on the screen again. Captain, while we review your information, I want to explain something about the situation you have found yourself in. What do you mean? The corporations that hired you are part of a larger conspiracy against humanity. This is not the first time they have used mercenaries against us. It will not be the last unless we stop them. How many times has this happened? Counting your crew. 19 separate mercenary attacks in the past 2 years. All hired by the same group of corporations. All told the same lies about human capabilities. Cora looked up from her station. Admiral, why do they keep trying if it never works? Because they are desperate, Admiral Morrison replied. Human trade and technology are disrupting their business models. They make money by controlling shipping routes and exploiting less advanced species. Humans offer better prices and better technology to the same customers. So this is about economics, Vexhar said. Everything is about economics eventually. These corporations cannot compete with humans in fair markets. So they are trying to eliminate human competition through violence. Dr. Chen's voice joined the conversation. What they do not understand is that humans consider this a form of warfare. And humans are very good at warfare. What are you going to do about it? Dr. Yalth asked. We are going to end the threat, Admiral Morrison said simply. But first we need more intelligence. Your crew has provided valuable information, but we need more. What kind of information? We need to know about their other operations. their financial networks, their political connections, and most importantly, we need to know about their military capabilities. They do not have military capabilities, Vexhar said. They hire mercenaries because they cannot fight themselves. Are you certain about that? Vexhar thought about it. The corporations had seemed very confident that human research stations would be easy targets. They had paid enormous amounts of money for what should have been simple jobs. Maybe they knew more than they had admitted. You think they have their own forces, he said. We think they have been preparing for a larger conflict, Dr. Chen replied. Mercenary attacks are just the beginning. They are testing human responses and capabilities. For what? Admiral Morrison answered. Intelligence suggests they are planning a coordinated assault on human space. Multiple species, multiple attack vectors, simultaneous strikes on civilian and military targets. That would be a massive operation, Cora said. It would require enormous resources, which they have, Dr. Chen said. These corporations control significant portions of galactic trade. They have connections with military contractors, weapons dealers, and several species governments. Why are you telling us this? Vexhar asked. Because we want your help, Admiral Morrison said. The bridge was quiet. Vexhar's crew exchanged looks of surprise. You want mercenaries to help you fight a war? Gorth asked. We want experienced fighters who understand how mercenary operations work, Dr. Chen explained. You know the weapons, the tactics, the communication protocols. You know how mercenary crews think and what motivates them. What would you want us to do? Infiltration, Admiral Morrison said. We want you to approach other mercenary crews that have been offered contracts against humans. Gather intelligence about the conspiracy. Identify key players. Report on military preparations. That is espionage, Vexhar said. Yes, and it pays much better than standard mercenary work. How much better? Dr. Chen named a figure that made Vexhar's eyes widen. It was 10 times what they had been offered for attacking the research station. Why so much money? Cora asked. Because the work is dangerous, Admiral Morrison replied. If you are discovered, the conspirators will kill you. We cannot provide protection or rescue if something goes wrong. And if we refuse, then you will be released with your ship and warned never to take contracts against humans again. But you will not receive any payment for this failed job, and your clients will not be happy about your failure. Vexhar considered the options. Working for the humans was risky, but the alternative was facing angry clients with no money and no success to show for their efforts. We need time to discuss this, he said. Of course, take all the time you need. The communication channel closed, leaving Vexhar alone with his crew. What do you think? He asked them. I think the humans are dangerous, Gorth said. But they are not lying about the money. I think we do not have many choices, Cora added. Our clients lied to us. They sent us against an enemy they knew we could not defeat. Maybe that was the point, Dr. Yalth suggested. Maybe they wanted us to be captured or killed. Why would they want that? Zigtar asked. To test human responses, Vexhar said slowly. If we died, they would learn how humans handle mercenary attacks. If we survived, they would learn about human capabilities and tactics. So we were expendable, Cora said angrily. All mercenaries are expendable to their clients, Vexhar replied. But the humans are offering us a chance to be more than expendable. They are offering us a chance to be partners. Partners with predators, Gorth said. Better than being prey, Vexhar replied. He opened the communication channel again. Dr. Chen appeared on the screen. Have you made a decision? She asked. We want to know more about what the work would involve. Reasonable. Admiral Morrison will brief you on the details. The Admiral's face replaced Dr. Chen's on the screen. The mission is complex but straightforward. You will return to normal mercenary channels and wait for new contracts against human targets. When you receive offers, you will accept them and report to us about your employers. What if other mercenaries become suspicious? You will tell them exactly what happened here. You were captured, interrogated, and released with a warning. That is a normal outcome for crews that survive encounters with superior forces. What about the corporations that hired us? You will tell them that human defenses were stronger than expected, and that you barely escaped. You will recommend against further attacks on human targets. Will they believe that? They will believe what they want to believe. And what they want to believe is that humans can be defeated with enough force. Dr. Chen's voice returned. The key is to make them overconfident. Let them think they understand human capabilities. Let them plan attacks based on incomplete information. And then we will be ready when they make their real move. Vexhar looked at his crew one more time. They all nodded. The decision was made. We accept, he said. Excellent, Admiral Morrison replied. You will receive detailed instructions and communication protocols within the hour. You will also receive an advance payment to cover your expenses. What about our ship? Your probes recorded everything about our weapons and defenses. We will make some modifications, Dr. Chen said. Nothing obvious, but your ship will be better equipped for intelligence gathering. Consider it a signing bonus, and when do we start? Immediately. Intelligence suggests that the next phase of the conspiracy will begin soon. We need agents in place before that happens. The communication ended, leaving Vexhar alone with his thoughts. 6 hours ago, he had been a simple mercenary captain, taking what seemed like an easy job. Now he was a spy working for the most dangerous species in the galaxy. But as he watched human technicians approaching his ship to install their upgrades, he realized something important. For the first time in his career, he was working for employers who were stronger than their enemies. That felt much safer than working for employers who sent their mercenaries to die. 3 months later, Vexhar sat in a crowded bar on Nexus Station, the largest mercenary hub in the galaxy. He was listening to other captains tell stories about their recent jobs. But mostly, he was listening for mentions of humans. He did not have to wait long. Crazy stuff happening out in the frontier sectors, said Captain Throlks, a scarred Kandorian with metal implants covering half his face. Word is that humans are paying big money for protection contracts. Protection from what? Asked another mercenary. Pirates, raiders, the usual problems. But the money is ridiculous. Triple normal rates. Vexhar kept his expression neutral, but his mind was working. In 3 months of spying for the humans, he had learned that Dr. Chen and Admiral Morrison had been right about everything. The corporations were planning something big, and they were getting desperate. Anyone actually taken one of those human contracts? Throlks asked. My cousin's crew did, said a Valthan captain. Easy money, they said. Humans are soft, no fighting skills. Just collect the pay and make sure nobody bothers their trade ships, and how did it go? The Valthan captain looked uncomfortable. Have not heard from them in 6 weeks. Around the table, several captains shifted nervously. Stories like this were becoming common. Crews that took jobs involving humans tended to disappear. Maybe humans are not as soft as people think, suggested a young Saurian captain. Do not be stupid, Throlks replied. Humans are barely out of their home system. They have no military tradition, no warrior culture. They are merchants pretending to be fighters. Vexhar almost laughed. If only they knew. Over the past 3 months, he had seen human intelligence operations that were more sophisticated than anything the major galactic powers could manage. He had watched human agents manipulate entire mercenary companies without the mercenaries ever knowing they were being controlled. He had received briefings on human military capabilities that had kept him awake at night. The humans were not merchants pretending to be fighters. They were fighters who had decided that pretending to be merchants was more profitable. I heard something interesting, Vexhar said carefully. Some of the big trade corporations are offering special contracts. Very high pay for jobs against human targets. How high? Throlks asked. 10 times normal rates. That got everyone's attention. In the mercenary business, money like that meant either incredible danger or incredible stupidity on the part of the clients. What kind of jobs? The Valthan captain asked. Raiding human colonies, capturing human ships, disrupting human trade routes. Sounds like war, the young Saurian said. War pays well, Throlks replied. Who is offering these contracts? Consortium of shipping corporations. They claim humans are cutting into their profits. Makes sense, Throlks said. Humans offer cheap shipping because they do not understand real costs. Someone needs to teach them about business. Vexhar nodded agreement while thinking about the human warships he had seen. Teaching humans about business would be like teaching a star how to burn. You interested in one of these contracts? He asked Throlks. Maybe. Depends on the details. I can arrange a meeting with the corporations. They are looking for experienced crews. Set it up, Throlks said. But I want to see the money first. 2 days later, Vexhar sat in a private meeting room with Throlks and representatives from the corporate consortium. The corporations were offering enormous payments for what they claimed would be simple raids on human shipping. Humans have no real military, explained the lead representative. A tall alien with gray skin and cold eyes. They rely on hired protection services. Eliminate their mercenary guards and their ships become easy targets. What about human government forces? Throlks asked. Minimal. A few patrol ships mostly for show. Human Space Navy is a propaganda organization with no real fighting capability. Vexar managed not to smile. He had seen the Human Space Navy in action. Calling it a propaganda organization was like calling a nuclear bomb a firecracker. Sounds easy enough, Throlk said. What are the target priorities? Phase 1 involves raids on isolated human colonies. Test their response capabilities. Phase 2 targets major shipping routes. Phase 3 will be coordinated strikes on human military installations. Phase 3 sounds like open war, Vexar observed. It will be a short war. The representative replied. Humans cannot fight multiple enemies simultaneously. Once their shipping is disrupted, their economy will collapse. What about their allies? Humans have no real allies. Other species tolerate them for trade purposes, but no one will fight to defend them. Throlks was nodding agreement, but Vexar knew better. Human intelligence had shown him the hidden treaties and mutual defense agreements that humanity had negotiated with dozens of species. The humans had been very busy making friends while pretending to be harmless merchants. We accept, Throlk said. When do we start? Phase 1 begins in 2 weeks. You will receive target coordinates and detailed briefings. After the meeting, Vexahar immediately contacted his human handlers. The conspiracy was moving to active operations. The time for subtlety was ending. Dr. Chen appeared on his secure communication screen. Excellent work, Captain. Your intelligence has confirmed our strategic assessments. What happens now? Now we spring our own trap. What kind of trap? The corporations believe they are organizing a surprise attack on unprepared humans. They are wrong on both counts. Admiral Morrison joined the conversation. Captain Throlks and the other mercenaries will find their targets more challenging than expected. How challenging? The isolated colonies they plan to raid are actually military training facilities staffed by human special forces. The shipping routes they want to attack are protected by cloaked warships, and the military installations they think are propaganda bases are fully operational battle stations. You are going to let them attack anyway? We are going to let them try, Dr. Chen corrected. The difference is important. What about Throlks and his crew? They will be given the same choice you were given. Surrender and cooperate or face the consequences. And the corporations? Admiral Morrison smiled coldly. The corporations will discover that starting a war with humanity was a poor business decision. What do you want me to do? Continue gathering intelligence until the attacks begin. Then withdraw to a safe distance and observe. Your job will be to document what happens to mercenary crews that attack human targets. Document it for who? For the rest of the mercenary community, Dr. Chen explained. After this operation is complete, we want every mercenary in the galaxy to know what happens when someone hires them to fight humans. Vexar understood. The humans were not just defending against the current threat. They were making sure there would not be future threats. One last question, he said. Why did you really recruit me and my crew? Because, Admiral Morrison replied, we needed witnesses who would be believed. When mercenaries hear about human capabilities from corporate representatives, they dismiss it as propaganda. When they hear the same information from other mercenaries who have seen it firsthand, they listen. You want us to spread fear. We want you to spread truth, Dr. Chen corrected. Fear is just a natural response to the truth about human military capabilities. 2 weeks later, Vexar watched from a safe distance as Captain Throlks led a fleet of mercenary ships toward what they thought was a defenseless human colony. What they found instead was a fully armed military base surrounded by human warships that had been waiting in stealth for exactly this kind of attack. The battle lasted 17 minutes. When it was over, Vexar began composing his report for the Galactic mercenary networks. It would be a simple message that would spread throughout the galaxy within days. Contract warning. All jobs targeting human facilities, personnel, or shipping are to be refused immediately. Human military capabilities have been severely underestimated. 17 known mercenary crews have been destroyed or captured. Survival rate for anti-human contracts is approximately 0. Recommend adding humans to the forbidden targets list alongside the Hive Mind and the Crystal Syndicate. He paused, then added one final line that he knew would be repeated in every mercenary bar in the galaxy. They look like ordinary humans, but they fight like demons. Accept death before accepting contracts against Earth. As he sent the message, Vexhar reflected on how much his life had changed since that first encounter with Dr. Chen. He was no longer just a mercenary captain. He was an agent of the most dangerous species in the galaxy, and he was very well paid for his services. Most importantly, he was alive, which was more than could be said for the mercenaries who had ignored the warnings about humanity. In the end, that was the real message the humans wanted to send. Not that they were invincible, but that they were too dangerous to be worth fighting. And throughout the galaxy, that message was being received loud and clear.